A commitment of duty was the first thing my father said as he entered Westminster Abbey yesterday. It was a commitment to stay in service because, for more than 50 years, Prince William has been the subject of a little-known story in every part of the UK, the Commonwealth, and the world. This story is not the well-polished photos from royal events or the journalistic narratives, music, but rather the true story that takes place behind closed doors. Music. 20 years of quiet between a girl who lost her family and a boy who is grieving speaks volumes. The public is constantly watching Prince William's music life. As he bears the invisible music burden of being a royal, the media analyzes his parenthood, marriage, and bereavement. One aspect of his life, however, is still unknown, not only to the palace press, but also to music himself. Queen Camilla's daughter, Laura Lopez, is not a member of the royal family. She, music, frequently stays in the background of this well-known family. Although hardly many people are aware of her name, she has attended significant occasions in William's life. She was like a sister to him for more than 20 music years, which he unwittingly kept hidden behind a symbolic door. This is the tale of what transpired once he, music, unlocked the door at last. Before becoming William's stepsister, music, and the Queen's daughter, Laura Rose Parker B.S. was a young girl living up on a country estate in Wiltshire, England. She had grown up in the shadow of someone else's scandal. The second child of Camilla Parker B.S. and her husband, retired British Army officer Andrew Parker B.S., she was born on New Year's Day, music, in 1978. Tom was Laura's older brother. They resided in Bidet Manor, a stunning music residence that possessed a swimming pool, 70 acres, and 8 bedrooms. Far from the distractions of the metropolis that would later damage her mother's reputation, it was a serene music setting. It was flawless on the outside, yet flawed on the inside. Laura felt, music, that something was amiss as a little kid. She heard murmured talks and hushed phone calls. When adults believed she wasn't listening, they would frequently whisper a name, music. Although Laura was only a little child, kids are aware of everything, particularly what they, music, are not. Stated. Charles was the name she kept hearing. She sensed that this word made her father's jaw tighten and her mother's voice soften before she knew what an affair meant or what music. It meant for two families to conflict. Her mother's relationship with the Prince of Music Wales was no longer a mystery by the time Laura reached adolescence. It became a public music conversation issue and was widely reported. Camilla was perceived as the antagonist in a well-known romance. Diana was portrayed as the tragic heroine. Music, Laura, the other woman's daughter, naturally faded into the background. When Laura's parents split, music, in 1995, she was 16 years old. Diana revealed to the BBC at the age of 17 that her marriage was hampered by the involvement of 3 people. Diana passed away in a Parisian tunnel, music, when she was 19. People asked her mother if she was happy now after glancing at her. Nobody inquired about Laura's feelings regarding music in any of this. Nobody ever did. As this royal tragedy unfolds, music, Laura, the daughter at its center, was disregarded. Early on, she discovered a crucial lesson. You can be protected by silence, music. You can gain strength from privacy. The person with the most responsibility is frequently the quietest. She was the only one carrying this weight, and she did it brilliantly. Williams, music, wall, the fortress of grief. We must go back to a crucial day in order to comprehend why William kept Laura at a distance, music, for so long. September 6th. Westminster, music, Abbey, 1997. In front of 1 billion people, 2 boys dressed in dark suits walked behind their mother's coffin. Harry was 12 and William was 15. For William, the tragic walk was the turning point in music. William gradually surrounded himself with what seemed to be power and poise. However, those who knew him well realized that it was a self-defense tactic. Every time he thought of Diana, music, whenever her name was mentioned in the media, and each time he sat with Camilla, the woman, he placed another brick to that wall, connecting it to music, his mother's suffering. William was terribly offended by Camilla's name. Because he was training to be king, music, he maintained his civility in public. However, his friends saw that he never really came to terms with her being there. According to the 2023 report, even after many years, he still had trouble adjusting to her presence in the family. He wasn't nasty or hateful, music. He was simply cautious. Camilla's daughter Laura was drawn into this complex circumstance. She was nice, music, and naive, but she brought to mind everything William had been trying to escape. Every family gathering with Laura demonstrated to him that his childhood family was no longer there and that his music father had moved on. His stepsister was his stepsister's daughter, and his stepmother was the lady who had once hurt his music mother. No amount of sadness or music separation could alter that fact. William thereby unintentionally kept Laura at a distance, music. In 2006, he attended her wedding. At his own wedding in 2011, his daughter Eliza, music, was a bridesmaid. Although he was appropriate and courteous, he was emotionally distant. There was no genuine familial bond or tenderness. He didn't show her much, but he kept his emotions to himself. This distance was sufficient for 20 years until it wasn't. No one witnessed the fights. In the worst conceivable way, two heartbroken youngsters came upon one another. There was something more genuine and unvarnished before the icy distance, music, the kind patience, and Laura's daughter carrying flowers down the Westminster Abbey aisle. The kind of conflicts that leave marks were real. Katie Nicholl, a royal biographer, discussed these music challenges in her book William and Harry Behind the Palace Walls, 2010. Music. She spoke of arguments driven by music and genuine pain rather than the customary civilized conflict of royal families. Two young people, each standing up for a parent they cared about, felt that the other had inflicted unnecessary suffering. William, who is still grieving for Diana and carrying the burden of a child who believes he is to blame for his mother's death, would occasionally vent his anger upon Camilla because of her presence in a household that Diana's absence of music had formed. Laura wasn't going to remain silent after witnessing her own mother receive public condemnation and growing up with the same experiences. She retaliated. Music. Nicholl claims that at one point, Laura looked directly at the future King of England, music, and said, "Your father has ruined my life." Every piece of music had a damaged childhood attached to these 4 words. They were a confession as much as an accusation. They confirmed what William had always said about Camilla. Neither of them recognized how much they had in common. There is one very terrible music detail from those years. Laura would occasionally pick up another phone and yell at Charles to stop contacting her mother when he called Camilla at home when she was a child. A young child yelling at the Prince of Music Wales to leave her family alone over the phone. He would subsequently bring this same family into his own life. Laura would eventually join the same music family for Christmas parties, royal occasions, and photos. She was music, attempting to safeguard her possessions. What William had lost, he was attempting to save. A potentially consoling relationship devolved into a confrontation between music and their sadness and protection. It is not that they fought that is tragic. They fought over the same thing, which is tragic. Both were kids attempting to keep music together when it was already shattered. They both deserve better. When he wasn't looking, she transformed into a woman who couldn't articulate that music. Laura decided to live a life away from the spotlight, while William became well known throughout the world. Music is worthy of being told, and her tale is significant. Laura earned a degree in art history from Oxford Brookes University, where Princess Kate subsequently pursued her studies in music. Without depending on her family name, she developed her career by concentrating on her music talent. Laura ran the Space Gallery in Belgravia, London, and interned at the renowned Peggy Guggenheim Collection in Venice. She co-founded the modern Belgravia Gallery 11 Fine Art in October 2005, the same month her mother married the king. For 10 years, she operated it without using her royal connections for the development of music. Later on, she established Laura Lopez Art, a curatorial practice music that specialized in British artists' figurative works. She participated in music at the British Art Fair in 2025 and was acknowledged as a well-known artist in London. At May 2006 music, Laura married Harry Lopez at a Wiltshire church from the 16th century. Unlike previous royal music celebrations, the wedding, which was attended by 250 people, including William, Harry, music Charles, and Camilla, felt more authentic. She established a deep bond by wearing a dress by Anna Valentine, the same designer her mother selected for her music wedding to Charles the previous year. In between them, Eliza, born in 2008, and the music twins Gus and Louis, born in 2009, are Laura's 3 children. Determined to preserve her children's childhoods, she brought them out of the spotlight. Gus stood at the altar in agony, wearing a cast, but he handled it gracefully after breaking his arm just music before the 2023 coronation, where he and his brother served as the king's pages of honor. As his mother had done all her life, he did his duty. Music. In the royal family, Laura Lopez stands for something uncommon. A person who prioritizes solitude over attention, morality over celebrity, and authenticity, music over performance. She made the decision to a music live really, while others take use of their royal connections for their own benefit. By doing this, she displayed a kind of royal conduct that is sometimes disregarded and is more authentically royal than many people who are regularly featured in the media. With roughly 45 guests, Sandringham hosted the biggest royal Christmas gathering music in recent memory. It was the Christmas that broke the ice. His Norfolk Christmases will never be calm again, William thought, noting it with a weary affection. King Charles, a musician, battled cancer. Diagnostic with the vigor with which he is renowned. As Kate, who just finished her own cancer treatment, music.